On this state park review, we're gonna go into the mountain. Hello again and welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I am your host Jason and I hope you are doing well. One of my favorite things to do in the state is to visit state parks. I think Wisconsin has a lot of great state parks and we are very fortunate to be able to see different parts of the state and what each part of that state has to offer through our state park system. And because we have so many, a lot of them are easily accessible to many of us in just a short drive. And I am one of those lucky ones that lives within 10 minutes of a state park. I'm very close to Rib Mountain State Park, and it's one that I visit numerous times throughout the year when possible. Recently, my 3 girls and I decided to take a trip up on top of Rib Mountain and do some hiking. And we chose a nice late fall day, and that's what we're going to talk about today is our adventure on Rib Mountain State Park. So, as many of you know, I enjoy hiking. I like getting out, I like walking around, I like taking my time, and I like stopping and getting a lot of pictures as I am on the hiking trails. And a lot of our state parks really do offer a lot of great trails. But one of my favorites, and not because it's close to me, is Rib Mountain State Park. For a number of reasons, honestly. One, the views on top of the mountain are just spectacular. I mean, it doesn't matter what time of year you go, you can see the city of Wausau and you see out way past the city of Wausau even. And one of the really great things about Rib Mountain State Park, in my opinion, is the amount of trails that they have throughout the park. It's not just the amount of trails, it's where the trails all go. Now, if you've been to other state parks, you know how the trails always usually take you to a certain land feature. You know, Copper Falls takes you to the different waterfalls, Devil's Lake, you've got the trails going up to Devil's Doorway and Balance Rock, and so many other ones. Just they have points of interest. And Rib Mountain is the same way. There are points of interest, but in a surprising way, they're kind of hidden. The only way you're going to see these features is by walking the trails. And our adventure started just on the last weekend in October, and I decided it was a good day to just take a quick hiking trip up to Rib Mountain. My wife was working, so it was just me and the girls, and it was what I felt was probably going to be the last nice day of fall. Now, the color was pretty much gone off all the trees, and I knew that. I was okay with that. I still wanted to get up there because it was just such a nice day, and printed up the map and gave it to the girls and said, where are we going? Because they have numerous trails, and we could pick any one we wanted to, except for one. I'm going to be honest. They have a yellow trail that goes just about 4 miles on the south side of the mountain, and I've never been on that trail, but on the map, it does say that it is a little bit more strenuous, there's a little bit more up and down, and there's a little bit more difficult trail. And I thought we probably should stay off of that one, being that I had 3 small girls with me, and it is just kind of by myself. We decided that one of the things that we wanted to see once we got up there was the quarry. Now, we've hiked Rib Mountain a few different times throughout the year, this past year, and a few different times other years, but I'm almost ashamed to say I've never been to the quarry part of Rib Mountain State Park. And a lot of people don't know that there is a quarry back in Rib Mountain State Park. We got there probably early afternoon, and knew we would have, good 3-4 hours of light. So there was no rushing. We didn't have to hurry. We didn't have to, get through quickly. We could just take our time and really enjoy the park. You could see when we were driving up there that the colors were already off the trees and it wasn't going to be probably as spectacular as what we thought. But when we got in there, we were really surprised. The fall foliage underneath the trees was still as brilliant as ever, and it was just really a beautiful, beautiful sight, and really something spectacular that it was completely unexpected, and it was a real surprise for us for our hiking trip up there. So after figuring out which trail we wanted to take, because again, there are numerous trails on the top of Rib Mountain. There are short trails that go around the observation deck that's up there, and if you've never been to Rib Mountain State Park, you have to go up on the observation deck. It's just Again, the view is just incredible. You can see miles upon miles. It's just a spectacular view, and if you get the chance, you have to go up there and you have to go up and check it out. But we knew we wanted to go see the quarry, so we took the red trail, and that kind of weaves kind of down around the side of the mountain and hooks up with another trail that hooks up with another trail. When it was all said and done, we ended up taking 5 different trails around the quarry area, and it was really kind of fun to do because it really kept the kids interested, and it kept us looking for markers and kept the whole kind of experience very well. And I want to say this about Rib Mountain State Park. For all the different trails that we've been on in state parks, Rib Mountain has got some of the best marked trails that I've been on. They're very well marked. They're all color coded. You really know where you are. You really know where you're heading. And the map was easy to read. And it was a very good experience if you're new to hiking. And we were really kind of put at ease at how well everything was marked and how well the planning was as far as where markers were supposed to be. So we worked our way back to this quarry, and I was seeing it for the first time. My kids were seeing it for the first time, and it is really kind of a cool little area. It's just exactly what you would think a quarry is. It's just a big dugout space in the mountain that you can see, and it's really kind of a neat thing. And you start by being on top of this quarry, and looking down, you can see where people have taken stones from the quarry and have made signs on the ground. Just different sayings that they spelled out with rocks that you could see from way up above. And my kids thought that was the coolest thing. They thought that was so neat. And of course, that's the one thing that they wanted to go try and do. We stayed on top for a while, grabbed some pictures, and we decided to walk around along the Turkey Vulture Trail, which is kind of a longer trail around the quarry. And that led us to the entrance of the quarry where we could actually walk in and be close up and be on the bottom of the quarry where we could see where people were taking the rocks and moving them around. And it was just a really, really neat experience to see that. And again, the colors were actually pretty vibrant down in the bottom of the quarry, where lower foliage was still bright with colors and it wasn't all covered up by the dead leaves yet. We stayed down in there for a very short amount of time because we really wanted to get going and we wanted to see the rest of the trail. So we continued around the Turkey Vulture Trail, and this is where we made kind of our first mistake. We decided to take a shortcut trail that was called the Dynamite Trail over to our next trail to get us back on top of the mountain. Now, again, we're on the bottom of the mountain now. So knowing full well we've got to climb back to the top of the mountain, I thought that the shortcut was going to be a really good idea. And you know what they say, hindsight is 20/20. It wasn't really a great idea for us. And here's why. All the trails were really marked well, except for this one. It's a shorter trail. It's only a quarter of a mile, but it goes through a very wooded area. And this time of year, all the leaves had fallen off the trees and have covered the trail. And throughout most of the other trails, there was enough people there packing it down and making sure you could still see where the trail is. Well, not this trail. This trail was very hard to see because there was very little traffic on it. So we ended up deciding to, be adventurous and take this little short trail to get over to our next trail. And we got in about halfway and kind of realized we weren't on the trail anymore. We had seen maybe 1 or 2 markers. We didn't find any more after that. And we were kind of in the middle of the woods off the trail and not really sure where we were going. Now, luckily, it was short enough and the area is open enough. You could see people walking on the trail that we were going to. So we just made a beeline to that. We did hit a few little streams and wet areas, but we made it across, and like I told my girls, that's part of the adventures of hiking. Sometimes you got to go off trail to get to where you need to be, and it was probably the most interesting part of our whole adventure, taking the girls off trail and getting them tramping through the woods a little bit without actually having markers and having to find their way. So it was a little bit of fun. It was a little bit nerve-wracking because, the kids start panicking a little bit, but we made it through and it wasn't that bad. You could, like I said, you could see where people were walking and we were able to find our trail and we were able to start walking up the mountain. The trek up the mountain was not easy. It was steep and it was long, and I am just glad that it was a cooler fall day, because it would have been very hot and very buggy if it would have been a midsummer day. I can just about imagine. So we had the perfect day to climb up the mountain, but by the time we got up there, the girls were pretty tired. And I'll admit, I was a little bit tired too. I'm not going to lie. I was tired by the time we got to the top of the hill. Because when all was said and done, we had probably walked a good 3-4 miles all the way around that. So it was a good hike, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we did it. It was a great day to get out there, and it's a great day to explore something new that we haven't been to go see yet in a state park that we've been to frequently. I want to say it kind of goes along with my points of never being afraid to go back to the same place a few different times, because you're always going to find something just a little bit different there every time you go. And this was one of the examples. Now, there are still 3 or 4 trails that we have not taken there. And I think once the kids get a little bit older, maybe even next year, we're going to try this yellow trail and see what that's all about. And they say the yellow trail is great for snowshoeing, and I'm hoping that maybe the wife and I can go there one time this winter and maybe do some snowshoeing on this trail up on Rib Mountain. So don't be afraid to go back to places you've been, to try new things, to do new things, to take a different trail, and enjoy every little piece that these state parks have to offer. I know there's that comfort factor about going there and sitting on the same trails over and over again. But don't be afraid to go ahead and take a different trail and try something new. If you ever venture to Rib Mountain State Park, I highly recommend you go and see the quarry. Take a little time and just make the hike. The hike was really easy. They do a really good job of making sure there's not a lot of steep up and downs like you get at some state parks. It was a pretty easy trail for all the kids for the most part. Coming back up was a little steep, but it was a gradual. It wasn't real quick, steep climbing. Rib Mountain State Park is one of my favorites to go to. There's a lot of variety there. There's a lot of opportunities throughout the year. They do snowshoe candlelight walks in the wintertime. They do concerts up there in the clouds, they call it. And it's a great park. And if you get a chance, look them up. And if you're into skiing, they've got Granite Peak right there. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to really enjoy this state park. And it really is a special state park if you ever get a chance to go there and just check it out. And it's really a great state park for the family. There are areas where you can picnic and sit down and just enjoy yourself for an afternoon or even for the day if you really want to make a whole day out of it. So I highly recommend you check out Rib Mountain State Park as you head out to be one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers. Thanks again for joining me. I'm your host, Jason, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. For more great information about being an outdoor explorer, visit our website at wisconsinsoutdoorexplorer.com. Be sure to check out the blog page and follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.